A seismic legal decision has rocked President Trump's America First trade agenda. On August 29, 2025, a federal appellate court upheld a lower court's ruling, declaring most of Trump's global tariffs illegal. By a 7-4 majority, the court found the president had overstepped his authority, targeting tariffs imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, including the controversial Liberation Day tariffs, and those on China, Canada, and Mexico. This ruling threatens to unravel the core of Trump's economic strategy and challenges his broad use of executive power. Businesses, consumers, and foreign governments have been caught in a costly trade war, with tariffs reaching 50% on some goods. The legal fight began in May 2024 when the U.S. Court of International Trade first found the tariffs unlawful. The appellate court's decision now strengthens the case against them. The court called the tariffs unbounded in scope, amount, and duration, striking at the heart of the administration's justification. While some tariffs, like those on steel and aluminum under different legal authority, remain, the ruling carves out a path for a Supreme Court showdown that could redefine presidential power over trade. For now, the tariffs stay in place until October 14, 2025, leaving the global economy in suspense. The appellate court's decision was rooted in a strict reading of presidential authority. The majority found Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act a misapplication, arguing the cited economic conditions didn't meet the law's definition of a national emergency. The court said the president's justification was too vague, granting the executive branch a blank check to impose tariffs without limits. This, they ruled, infringed on Congress's constitutional power to regulate foreign commerce. The judges emphasized that emergency powers are for extraordinary threats, not for reshaping global trade. The 7-4 split reveals deep divisions over executive power, setting the stage for a Supreme Court battle. The ruling distinguishes between tariffs imposed under IEEPA and those under Section 232, which are justified on national security grounds and remain untouched. Ultimately, the court insisted the president must use the correct legal tools and cannot repurpose emergency powers for broad, long-term economic policy. The Trump administration responded with immediate defiance. President Trump condemned the ruling on Truth Social, vowing to fight to the Supreme Court and insisting all tariffs are still in effect. White House officials called the decision judicial overreach, framing it as an attack on the America First agenda. Trade advisor Peter Navarro confirmed the administration was ready for a Supreme Court battle, confident the justices would back broad executive authority. The legal team quickly filed an appeal, taking advantage of the appellate court's stay that keeps tariffs in place until October 14th. The administration's strategy: maintain the status quo and seek a final favorable ruling from the Supreme Court. Their core argument: modern economic threats justify expansive emergency powers to protect American industry. The court's ruling has sent shockwaves through America's trading partners, deepening uncertainty. In Asia, Japan, and South Korea, facing massive U.S. tariff demands, see the ruling as a possible reprieve, but the administration's appeal tempers any optimism. In China, a fragile truce has reduced some tariffs, but the court decision complicates negotiations, and Beijing remains cautious. U.S. agricultural exports to China have collapsed, devastating American farmers, and highlighting the stakes of the trade war. Canada, already hit with steep tariffs, now faces a new 10% duty on softwood lumber, threatening a vital sector. The ruling offers little comfort, as the administration pivots to new tariffs under different legal authorities. Brazil faces 50% tariffs after political disputes, while Europe's markets reel from currency volatility triggered by the trade conflict. The global economy is caught between a U.S. court system declaring tariffs illegal and an administration determined to keep them. Nations are left navigating a chaotic environment for trade and diplomacy. The world waits for clarity as legal and political battles continue. The legal battle over Trump's tariffs has left markets and industries in limbo. Initial court rulings sparked brief optimism, but the administration's appeals kept tariffs in place, fueling uncertainty. In Japan, factory output and retail sales have declined, with officials blaming U.S. tariffs for the slowdown. The uncertainty itself is toxic, making it hard for businesses to plan or invest. U.S. industries are feeling the pain, The automotive sector faces a new 25% tariff on heavy-duty trucks, sending shares of European manufacturers tumbling. Analysts warn of major earnings hits and ripple effects on jobs and prices. U.S. soybean farmers are in crisis as China boycotts their products, while home builders warn that new tariffs on Canadian lumber and furniture will raise construction costs. The housing market could suffer, making home ownership less affordable. These consequences highlight the complex, often contradictory effects of the administration's trade policies. The economic fallout is widespread, with no clear end in sight. As its main tariff strategy faces legal peril, the Trump administration pivots to new tariffs under Section 232, citing national security. The new tariffs are sweeping: 100% on foreign-made movies and patented drugs, 50% on kitchen cabinets, 30% on furniture, 25% on trucks, and 10% on lumber. The administration aims to force companies to invest in the U.S. Pfizer and AstraZeneca have already struck deals to avoid tariffs. This aggressive approach is reshaping business models and supply chains. Section 232 tariffs are harder to challenge legally, as courts defer to the executive on national security. By reframing the trade fight, the administration moves to more favorable legal ground. The strategy keeps pressure on trading partners and rallies Trump's base around economic nationalism. Even as the Supreme Court weighs the IEEPA tariffs, the administration's relentless push for protectionism continues. The trade war is evolving, with new fronts opening as old ones face legal scrutiny. The clash between the White House and the courts has brought America and the world to a turning point. The Supreme Court's decision will shape the future of U.S. trade policy and presidential power. If the court strikes down the tariffs, Congress could reclaim authority over trade, pushing the U.S. toward more collaborative, rules-based policy. If the administration prevails, the president's emergency powers will expand, cementing unilateral action as a feature of U.S. trade. For global partners, this means ongoing uncertainty and risk. The administration's pivot to national security tariffs signals that protectionism will persist, regardless of the IEEPA case outcome. As the October 14th deadline looms, the world watches to see if the Supreme Court will intervene. The path America chooses now will define its role in the global economy for years to come.